What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for probably the most exciting live stream I've ever had on the channel. Probably one of the most exciting live streams these guys have been a part of as well. This has been an awesome project. I'm joined here today by Rich Boy J, SW Bricks, and Firebird Bricks. How you guys doing?
Great. Glad to
Fantastic.
be here.
Excited.
I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this. A little bit nervous, not gonna lie. I mean, no matter how you want to face this up, no matter how good natured it still is a little bit of a competition. And today we're going to be figuring out who won in which categories. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with what's going on here, but if anybody's just joining and you don't know what's going on, we're going to be talking about that, kind of the whole nature of how this clone-based collaboration came together, why we decided to do what we did, how the terrain came together. And then once we explain that, kind of get you guys all caught up and at the same speed, we're going to go through each of the categories and pick a winner, show who won. And each of us actually built a little trophy. So we'll show you guys that, but we'll talk more about that later. And then once we go through all the categories, show you guys who won, at the very end, we're going to open things up for a Q&A for you guys. So if you have any questions about someone's building process, why they put a certain Easter egg, just all these different things. So make sure to, try and keep your questions till the end, just because I'm going to keep an eye on the chat, but we're going to try and keep things flowing, keep things moving. So I might not be able to hit your questions right now, but that's pretty much it for an intro. So now we're going to jump right into Firebird. He was kind of the father of this collaboration, the creator. So he's going to kind of explain how it all came together.
Yeah, so thank you guys for all being here. This is very exciting. I hope you guys have all enjoyed the videos, and if you haven't caught everybody's bases and checked them out and everything, we're going to do an overview here, but you should go watch all the videos after this stream is done, because everybody put in some serious effort here, and I think we all had a lot of fun with this. But basically, just I'm going to give an overview of kind of how this collab came to be, and we'll talk about a couple of things here. But yeah, so I reached out to everybody here kind of at different points, and this idea started a little bit between SW and myself as like a collaboration project idea with like a clone base thing, because clone bases, they're coming back a little bit. We've some of us have been making clone based videos. I think others have been too, and there's some hype that's kind of drumming up with that there, and it's been a lot of fun to see people's creativity through that and everything. So we got talking, and then we were like, maybe we'd pull a couple other people in on this and see what we can do. So then, of course, Coconut and Jay jumped on board, and so we all met and chatted about things and came up with the rules of the collaboration and all the different things that we wanted to try and incorporate and everything. So yeah, that's basically how this was born, how it came to be. And this has been a project that's been in process, I guess, like probably about 2 months at this point, I think, is when we had our first meeting about this. And so yeah, it's been fun to kind of check in with each other along the way, see how things are going. And then going live last week was great. It's just been so fun to see like everybody's comments and everything on all the videos, and people saying on one video, hey, I came from Coconut's channel, or I came from SW or Jay or whoever. And everybody kind of going across and checking out other people's videos, I think has been awesome to see, because we all put a lot of work into our builds and our videos and stuff. So it's been pretty sweet to see that. But yeah, so as far as the collaboration goes, another idea that this was kind of born out of is just that we don't really see tons of collaborations on Lego Star Wars YouTube. It happens from time to time. And so I think this was just something that we thought would be a lot of fun for you guys to see as well. Yeah, so for the rules, let's talk rules for a second here. Basically, the stipulations, we just had 2 of them. The first one is that your base has to be 64 by 64 stud footprint. And the second rule was no droid invasions, no like just day-to-day operations on a base. I know it's a lot of fun to build a battle with a clone base, but we figured given the size constraints and everything, it might be a little bit much to fit all of that in. And so we just stuck with like standard day-to-day operations for a clone base. And yeah, so we also have categories. And so if you guys haven't voted yet, there should be a form link. I don't know if we can get that pinned in the chat. Or,
Yeah, it's pinned at the top of the
it's pinned
chat.
at the top. Okay, so yeah, there should be a form link that you guys can click on if you have not voted yet. We are actually going to do like a short overview here of everybody's bases. So if you haven't seen them, you can kind of pay attention while we're going through that, and then vote for people for the different categories. But we have a couple of different categories for voting. So we've got best terrain is one category, and that's just, pretty self-explanatory. If we're talking landscaping, all that kind of stuff. We have most aesthetic, which is just the most pleasing to the eye, the best looking build. Most functional / tactical, and that kind of involves like how would the clones move throughout the base, and how does this base stand up as like a defense unit? Do they have lots of turrets? Do they have lots of vehicles or armament or anything like that? And then we also have funniest scene. The goal was to also incorporate some humor into our builds, which some did better than others for sure. And then we also have fan choice for the best build, which is the final category. And so for the first 4 categories, we also each were assigned a category to build a trophy for. So for whoever wins the category, we are going to send our trophy to that person. And so, yeah, that's basically how it's all laid out here. But I think if we want to dive into things, we can probably start taking a look at people's builds, unless I'm missing something. Coconut, you've got like the rundown of the plan. So
Yeah, that was good. I think for me, just real quick, I think one of the coolest things about this whole thing was getting the whole community involved, right? That was what was really cool to me was how we were able to figure out like how do you get the viewer involved? Because I love a good collaboration. I love watching things. What I love even more sometimes is feeling involved in it too. So hopefully you guys were able to feel like you had a good experience with this and felt involved in the collab, because that's definitely one of the things we wanted. So excuse me. What we're going to do now is go through each of the clone bases. Each of us is going to take a second and kind of highlight, go over our base a little bit, just talk about some things. Now, bear with me. I don't use StreamYard, so this might get a little weird. This might get a little all over the place, but we're going to try anyways, and we're going to just screen share here. Let's see. I think first up, who did I have pulled up? Jay, Rich Boy Jay. So we're going to be going over Rich Boy Jay's build. And yeah, take it away for us, Jay. What do you want us to know about this mighty Scarif base?
All right. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to my base. I was given 2, I guess, parameters for my build. The first of which being that I would be building a clone base on Scarif, which is that's pretty much my idea. Like, I think Scarif is just such an aesthetically pleasing place in Star Wars, and I was very happy to get to bring some Republic representation to that area. Second, I chose a Legion, which was just the standard OG all-white P1 clones, which is probably my favorite clone Legion, so was very happy about that as well. In terms of the overall design, my first idea was, okay, I want to basically make like a Republic Citadel, which kind of lent itself to me making it more triangular. So that's kind of how I came up with that idea. And as for like the rounded base area, for I guess I don't know. Everything I've been building has been round lately with Camino, so I guess I was just in that kind of mood. But one thing that I definitely was super proud of was getting the Republic logo built into the base of the base, not to sound repetitive there, redundant. But that was super fun. That kind of ended up like happening, like kind of spur of the moment. I was like, hey, like with the shapes I'm using here, I can actually probably make this thing like with the logo. I can build the logo into this. So I started trying it out, and it definitely like extended the amount of time that I had to spend on it. But when it finally came out, I was like, okay, like that's cool. I really like the way that came out. I try to leave myself as much space as possible on the bottom half of the base. That was like where the bulk of the interior was going to be. And then after that, I was like, okay, like how can we build this up to get that? Oh, yo, shout out to Studio Ghibli for the ad. Appreciate it. But you better not get that ad.
Get that money.
Bro, if y'all want to see Coconut take money out of my pocket and you don't want to see me eat,
direct theft.
This is how it happens, guys. Damn, bro. No support. Anyway,
I think you get
right
paid
now
anyways.
you can see me taking off the panels to kind of show off the interior, which was really cool. I think the way I kind of built this was kind of unfortunate because like I was in such a hurry to get the actual like structure of the build kind of together that I realized I had this giant structure on top of it that made accessing the interior nearly impossible. So a lot of the time I spent on this bottom section was just trying to fit everything like in there with my giant hands reaching in there. So, it came out decently well. Had a bit of a hangar for that Republic fighter tank. Got some clones chilling. Got a, I guess, sleeping area. I'm not a big base person. I don't know all the terms. What's the room where they sleep called?
Barracks.
Is there a name for that? Barracks? Okay. Boom. There you go. And then over to the other side, there's a like a med bay with some Bacta tanks in it. So those are all very fun to implement, things that I don't typically build. Like this is very much kind of out of my element in terms of just building like anything really. Don't usually do clone bases. So I was really happy with how that bottom level turned out. And then kind of towards the top area, there's more of like I don't know what you'd call it, but more of like a logistical kind of like war room type deal. So we got the traditional Star Destroyer windows, and we got the clone commanders in there hanging out with that boy Yularen, and really just strategizing, looking over Scarif, hoping no pesky CIS guys infiltrate the base. And then lining the center of the base is a big kind of elevator shaft, which I planned on being functional. I tried it out. It was just way too fast. There was no way I'll be able to turn it on and turn it off quick enough. But that might be something for the future. Who knows?
Were you planning on making it motorized? Like you just flip the switch and it just turns on?
Exactly, yeah. But it like I used like the older version of power functions, which like there's no programming involved, so there's basically just one speed unless you want to like do some gearing, which I was not about to try to figure out. So I think like I'd probably be better off using the newer version where you can program it, slow it down, and not like rip the base apart trying to implement an elevator shaft. And at the top there's like a little circular balcony with a sniper boy to be able to take out any potential threats. And then other than like some other armament across it, like there's some turrets on the back of the base as well as lining the edges of like the circular base. That's pretty much it.
Nice. Would you say like was there a specific part of the base that was like far and away your favorite part to build or turned out the best, or do you kind of feel like it all was about the same for you?
I think that there was a moment where before I had the top half of the base where I just kind of built up the bottom circular trapezoid type deal and I had the logo sitting on top. I was like, okay, like this is something. Because like I mean I don't usually design things like kind of like off the top of my head. So I usually have a pretty good idea of what it at least should look like at the end. This one I had no idea. I was kind of like, as I went, like maybe this might look interesting. And then like once I got to that point, I was like, okay, like I think it at the very least will not suck. So I was happy at least at that point. So yeah, I'd say that was probably the most fulfilling area.
I mean, as soon as I saw this base, I remember being blown away because we all had like a little group chat that we did together, and like we didn't really post a ton of work in progress shots, but each of us I think posted like one or two, and I had no idea what everybody else was going to come up with, but I do have an idea of what a clone base looks like in my head. And Jay just posted a picture of like this pyramid just like poking up from the ground, and I was just, it's like there it is, that's the winner right there. I mean, how do you compete with that? So yeah, I think the shaping of it is just it turned out really good.
Yeah, it's definitely not typical. It looks really good.
Yeah.
All right, so next up we've got our boy SW Bricks and Figs. What you got for us, man?
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to go with a sort of, I don't know, a sort of added detailed twist to the classic sort of clone bases. So I wanted to sort of go keep it sort of standard and go for that sort of standard classic clone base where you have a bit of everything. You have sort of lots of nice things inside, obviously all the different things you want to include in a clone base. But I also wanted to add some detailing, and I think I sort of took inspiration from certain castle mocks and stuff like that I've done to get that sort of like decrepit wall details, sort of getting a little bit cleaner as they go up, obviously less damaged as they go further up the base. But yeah, I went with a pretty basic design in the end. I was sort of playing around with a few things, and I ended up leaving myself way too little time to be able to build this base. So it was kind of I kind of just went back to basics and went for a pretty simple footprint in terms of the actual base. And yeah, basically I wanted to play around with some different things in the terrain, like having that sort of, undulation on the side where it goes from rocks to then mud and dirt, and then there are 3 different main colors of terrain. That was one of my main focuses to start with. So I've built that up, worked out exactly how high I wanted that one to go. And
no
then
money for SW either. Taking it all.
Are we seeing? I'm still
Yeah,
seeing
no,
phase base.
on the mine is still the one showing.
Oh, whoops, sorry. I thought we had switched over.
He's giving
Nice.
At least you haven't got an ad blocker on. That's okay.
Yo,
We got that ad. All right, let me try this again. I think I thought, because I had like a little thing pop up that you're still screen sharing, but I guess you have to like click a new one every single time. There. Can you guys see it now?
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Whoops. I was just moving this through the base this whole time.
So yeah, basically, I kind of wish I put a bit more detail on this front wall here. I think I maybe could have added some windows for that sort of balcony level, but I wanted to create this sort of curves on the sides of the walls here. So that was a little bit of extra snot on the sides, and ended up sort of inhibiting what I could do with the roof because I had to continue that snot pattern. I couldn't just build straight on top of that. But I ended up, it was pretty easy to work out in the end. And yeah, I had fun trying to make the video flow and sort of fit it all into one video, and it was fun documenting the progress as I went. And then obviously I built this top section here, which was sort of another command station. I kind of wish I'd done maybe a barracks downstairs and a command station upstairs, because it ended up being a lot of hollow tables and a lot of screens and stuff. So with hindsight, I probably would have switched that up a bit. And yeah, I kind of wanted to add some gunships here, but I didn't quite have the space, and I didn't like the way it was looking. So I ended up, not having real much time to sort of work out how to add a gunship. So I went with a couple of turrets and stuff like that instead, and yeah, decorated a couple of things on the front and on the top. Probably the main focuses were just to have that sort of classic clone base feel, and the terrain was probably the main couple of focuses there. And then, I managed to include a couple of bits of nice snot work downstairs, which I was pretty happy with. But otherwise, yeah, I kind of wish I'd managed to get a few more details in. But as I said, I kind of wanted to keep a clone base feel, a classic feel to it, whilst having sort of like a more little bit of extra detailing on top as well. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with the terrain, and yeah, it was just a fun base to build all round. But definitely limited myself with the amount of time I had to build this one, but it was definitely good fun.
Yeah, I think you definitely captured the classic clone base. I mean, just like even the little pieces right here for the railings, just all like the metal molded rebar pieces or whatever they're called, just gives you a very industrial, very gritty clone base vibe.
Yeah, for sure. I was definitely inspired by Firebird's previous one of these, where he did a big clone base in a week, and that was kind of like, I've never done anything like that, so I really wanted to sort of have my own sort of go at that sort of thing. So that was kind of where I started my planning from, to try and do one of those sort of clone bases.
Yeah, you definitely went like very interior with your base. Like I think you have the most interior space out of all of us, possibly.
Space possible, yeah.
Yeah, so you got to include like a lot of story elements here, which I think is a lot of fun. I thought it turned out really good.
Yeah, I was sort of planning to do a big rock wall actually built into the base. So maybe that front sort of, as the L shape is there, I would have had had that sticking out of the rock wall. But I ended up changing my plans in the end and going without that. But that might have been fun if I'd managed to incorporate that. But yeah,
it's a good looking base. I like the little the dark bluish gray pillars, which in and of themselves aren't a huge thing, but they add so much color contrast and just give this wall an extra bit of texture as well.
Yeah, it's not just a flat wall.
Mm-hmm.
I like the headlight bricks and stuff you've included in there too. Looks good. Some nice texture.
All right. So next up, we are going to be going with Firebird Bricks, sharing with us his base on
the Jungle Planet,
right?
You didn't make up a name. Oh.
I didn't make up a name. Yeah, I had some people commenting on this video being like, hey, what planet is this? I'm like, nondescript Endor/Kashyyyk style planet, basically. But yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with this one. It was an interesting process trying to figure out what I wanted to build, because I had just done a clone base in August, and I did it in a week with a couple of friends, and spent like, we just spent like hours and hours, just all of our waking hours for like 7 days working on it. And that base was very much like interior and like your standard rectangular type of deal for a clone base. So I really wanted to try and do something very different. And so I was talking with one of my friends, Star Wars fan room, and I was like explaining, I was actually planning on going underground with this to begin with. I was thinking about doing like a whole underground layered thing with a terrain level on the top with a bit of the base poking out. And then I started thinking about like, I don't know, how that would exactly all come together, and especially supporting it and everything. And so then he was like, why don't you just build it above ground and go high with it? And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. That's a great idea. So that was good feedback that helped kind of drive me in this direction, and also left a lot of space for terrain work on the bottom, which took me way longer than I expected. One of the things I mentioned in this video was like, I'm used to building with friends and other people, and I kind of, we get together and work on stuff, and all of like the large scale builds I've done have had somebody helping me. And so my time estimates were just like out the window. I kept like taking twice as long as I expected to on each of the things I was working on. But it was a lot of fun to try and build something that is a clone base and still kind of has that feel to it, but it's like totally different from what you might expect, I think. So yeah, kind of went up tall with things, and I had like a medical room. I had a landing platform, which ended up just being this solid, thick brick of a landing platform, but I think it turned out looking pretty cool. And then that goes over to like a control tower. And I tried to get unconventional shapes for everything. I went with like an octagon like shape for the control tower, and all of the side builds were a lot of fun to work on as well. But as far as tactics and everything go, I tried to include lots of turrets, but then also on the ground I placed this big old shield generator that I made. And my idea, which I did not explain in my video, is that, hey, this is a shield generator that should be able to cover the entire base, increase my defense and everything. That was kind of the idea there. And then also just putting figs in here was fun too. I figured picking specifically the jetpack troopers as the majority of the figures made a lot of sense for this base that's high up. It gives them the maneuverability and everything. And then I also got to include some clone cadets down there from Mike and Ike. Shout out to Micah for those. Those are pretty fun. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I really enjoyed working on this. It was something quite different than what I've tried in the past. And I think I also really enjoyed building stuff that's not tied to canon, because you can just get creative with it and do whatever you want. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me, I think.
Yeah, one thing I really liked about your base was this could have been like a base from Halo, or a base from just like any science fiction world. It was just so unique and just kind of broke the mold of what your typical clone base looks like. And just the way it's stacked up on top of itself kind of makes sense for a jungle planet, right? You want to get your base up high. You want to get up above that tree line and stuff. So
yeah,
I like how you incorporated, your design, because I tried to do a similar thing with mine of using the terrain to kind of dictate the architecture and design of the base.
Yeah. No, it would have been fun to be able to add more. I really wanted to add like giant trees into this, but as I started getting into things, I realized I was starting to run out of time, and I was like, I'm just not going to have time to build large enough trees that are going to look good. So that's kind of why I ended up going with the tree stump and then the fallen down branch. I mean, probably makes sense. There'd be some deforestation going on if they're doing construction here. So I feel like it kind of adds up. But yeah, I would say like the only thing for me with this is like, I would have loved to have put more detail into the pillars, because I feel like they ended up looking a little bit flat with just building them in like a square going straight up. But I didn't have the parts that I would have needed at the time to do that. So yeah.
Nice. All right. So that will take us to the final base, which happens to be mine. I had a pretty good idea pretty quickly of what I wanted to do, because we all picked like a clone legion to go with our base, and I immediately went with Galactic Marines because I'm currently doing a bunch for my Magito mock. I just love them. I think the Galactic Marines are so cool, such a unique looking clone, and just you don't see them a whole lot. So I just wanted another chance to be able to work with them, and that does kind of limit where you can do, because they're typically for harsh weather conditions. And I was like, Mustafar. Mustafar would be great. I'd get to use the Galactic Marines, get to kind of do a fun Mustafar mock. And so that's kind of where the idea for mine came from. And one thing I knew I'd have to really hammer in and focus on was the terrain, because Mustafar, I mean, it's basically a charred rock of a planet. There isn't a whole lot there as far as like flora and fauna goes. So I made sure to, add as much as I could there. And I got the giant lava river in. Then I also decided to light up the geysers, just because I felt like that might help, boost my boring black terrain a little bit if you have these nice lit up geysers kind of bursting up out of the ground. So I dedicated at least half of the footprint of my base to just terrain because I wanted to really emphasize that and make sure, if I just had like these little patches of black, I knew I wasn't going to stand a chance in that category. So I made the base a little bit smaller than I was initially planning because kind of similar to SW, I wanted to have a landing platform with a gunship on it, but just didn't happen. I did decide to go with a double stacked landing platform just because, with Mustafar, you probably don't have a lot of real estate to where you can easily build. And so I figured, they'd probably want to build up similar to what Firebird did. So I've got these double platforms and decided to light it up as well since I felt like it would look kind of strange to have just the geysers lit up, but then have no lights on the base as well. So made sure to throw some lights in there. The interior is kind of where I struggled because as viewers of my channel know, I'm not an interior guy. I don't enjoy doing interiors, but that was one of the, functionality was one of the kind of factors. So I wanted to make sure I included as much as I could. So I've got an armory down here at the base. And then above that, let me see if I can find, here we go. Above that, I've also got a Gungan dance club. That was like my attempt at humor. I don't know, like humor's just not my thing. And so that was kind of what I tried to do. So I've got an armory down there, and then we've got a garage with some clone trooper working on a Republic fighter tank. I love using the fighter tanks just because it's so small and so compact. You can fit it into a pretty small base. And I just felt like that helped make the base feel bigger if you've got an entire vehicle in there. And then of course, we've got this guy shoveling some suspect materials off the ground, but I had more fun than I thought I would with the interior. We've got a little bit of a command station up here at top. But I think what I enjoyed the most was doing the exterior here with like the guns on the front. I wanted to make sure I went all out with like defense and just protection. So we've got lights down here, and then we've got Anakin Plo Koon going up into the base. We've got anti-aircraft turrets. I think I've got 4, some satellite dishes, surface-to-air missiles, just, everything you need to make sure those pesky droids aren't taking down your base. And then we've got another look at the lava river. One of the things I wanted to try to do with the lava river was create a natural defense. It's kind of like a moat so that, if any ground troops do happen to make it up to the base, they're not making it in there. They're going to melt. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go over for my base. I really wanted to hammer in aesthetic with the lights because Mustafar is so black and so bland. I felt like having actual lights in there would really light things up and make it more interesting. This is also supposed to be a shield generator, similar to Firebird's idea to kind of protect the base, but also functionally because on Mustafar, the bases had to have big shields built into them or else they just melt from the intense heat of the atmosphere and the lava. So this is pretty much what I did. Here's another look at the base. I guess I did have somewhat of a cinematic here. I want to show you guys what it looks like with the lights off.
Shout out to you for doing lighting. I think you're the only one of us who did lighting in yours, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. And it looks really sick with this shot here. I think it really adds a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I wanted to kind of contrast the darkness and just bring in some actual light into the base. And it was a pretty big challenge because I haven't worked with lights a ton, but I do think it paid off, especially down here on the terrain. Mm-hmm. Your eyes really kind of go towards each of those geysers. But yeah, that's basically it for my base. We got another guy taking some screenshots for the boys back home on Camino.
Gotta get those thumbnail photos.
That's right. Yeah, he's got his vlog channel. He's got to get those clickbaity thumbnails. Anyways, so that's it for the bases. I think now voting is closed.
Right? I'm going to close voting right now. Here, we're going to turn off responses. Hold on one second here.
So this is it, guys. This is the big moment. Firebird's going to close the voting, no more votes, and then he's going to introduce each category. And at the beginning of each category, whoever was in charge of building the trophy is kind of showcase what they built and kind of why they did what they did. Just, show whoever is going to win that what they're going to be getting.
Here's me trying to figure out how to turn off. Sorry, 1 second. I'm trying to.
That's all good. We're all well versed in these collabs, as you can tell.
That's right.
I do feel like for the first time doing this, though, everything went real smooth.
Yeah.
You guys did your job great. Would you say we had over 1,000 votes. Is that
We
right?
have 1,126 responses, which I
So-
think is pretty awesome.
Shout out to you guys for like taking time out of your day to go watch each one of our bases, hopefully, and then go vote on it. Like that was, that's definitely effort you guys had to expend on your part. So we do appreciate that. This collab was dependent on you guys in a way too. So thank you guys for coming through and taking time to vote and stuff and support our channels. We each really appreciate that.
Yes,
For sure.
absolutely. Okay, I think we should be good to go here. So first, we're going to start out with the best terrain category. So who was in charge? Was it Coconut? You had the trophy for that one. If you want to show your trophy,
That would be me. So we've got ourselves a nice
Guys.
black obelisk, or I don't know what you want to call it, but I wanted to go because my terrain was a little bit more unique with the black and the red. I wanted to represent that in the terrain build, so I went with this kind of black mountain, and then we've got a helmet of a galactic marine there, and you can't really see on the camera, but there's actually red to represent the lava, kind of like a little lava flow going down behind him. So got ourselves a nice little black obelisk that you can add to your desk or display shelves.
very cool.
I guess one more thing to add to it.
Yes.
One, I guess, role we had for the trophies was it had to incorporate like a minifig element from the Legion that we had to do. So
Yeah, personalize
you'll
it a
notice
little
that
bit.
theme.
Yeah. Okay. So terrain. Terrain was won by myself.
Nice. Very nice.
Woo! So thank you. I'm excited to stick that trophy right back there on my shelf. Appreciate it. I really like how that looks. I love the helmets that you do for your Galactic Marines. So I'm pretty stoked about that, to be honest. So awesome. Okay. Next category, we have most aesthetic. And this one, I believe, was Jay. Did you make the trophy for most aesthetic?
I did. So I took a, I guess, more unconventional route with the trophy for this one. I decided to kind of like look at it from like a clone's perspective, right? And these guys are mostly faceless, hidden behind their helmets. So like, what do clones typically do to improve their aesthetics? Well, some might modify their armor, but some of them like to take that extra step forward and express themselves through their haircut. So in my trophy, I have a little barber shop scene set up with a
That
clone
is
trooper
awesome.
giving another clone his epic clone cut. So
That's
that was kind of my idea for improving your aesthetics. Getting W Riz happens right here at the clone barbershop.
I like that.
That's awesome.
All right, so most aesthetic. This one I think, man, may not be a surprise to people, but Jay is the winner of most aesthetic. So Jay, you get your
You win your own trophy.
I keep it. Yeah,
Oh, that's
I get those parts.
Good job. Okay, we got next up most functional / tactical, and I will say this is the category that was probably the closest in voting, but there's still a clear winner here. But there was definitely tough competition on this category, and so SW, I think you built the trophy for this one, right?
Yeah, so I went with like a little kind of podium sort of thing. So we've got like a bit of my terrain down the bottom with all three of the colors I used. And then we have like a couple of guns on either side. And then there's this big turret up on top with one of my 212 clones. So
Nice.
yeah, we'll
Very
see
cool.
who gets to take that one home.
All right,
Nice.
so the winner of the most functional / tactical is Coconut.
Nice. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Add that little turret to my shelves behind me.
That's right. I think you had not enough turrets on your base, probably.
Yeah, I'll add it to the base. One more turret.
Yeah.
can help.
One more won't hurt, bro.
So very well done there. All right, next up we got funniest scene, and this one was, I would call this a blowout. I would say that we got a very clear winner here with the funniest scene, and that is Coconut.
Show your trophy.
I
Wow.
should show my trophy. I guess
Oh
you're right. I'm
man,
skipping. Hold on.
I didn't even.
But
see
you
what it is.
win. But okay, so here's the trophy. All right, this is what I came up with here. We got this guy right here,
Yes, let's go.
buff clone, lifting some weights. Of course, I had the 501st, so I had to make him a 501st clone, and so yeah, I just got a little platform for him there.
That's awesome. Wow,
Very
that was,
happy,
thank
and
you.
I woke up
That was
ogling at him.
definitely gonna
Some
put
of
him in
you
the
will
dance.
remember.
It's I think my favorite what was it, Citizen Tano, I think it was my favorite humor piece in yours.
Yeah,
That was
dude. Some
ridiculous.
people got mad about that joke.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. You're wild for putting that in there.
Well,
So
the funny thing is, like in my mind, I don't see like I wasn't even thinking about it in that way, and then everybody said, and I was like, oh shoot, that does make sense. But like,
yep.
yeah. Different
good.
times, you
Real
know.
quick, I'm curious. I know SW, you said you just forgot about the category. Understandable. Caleb, did you have any, like, I guess more humor ideas that maybe you didn't get to implement?
I think for me, it was like the stress of trying to get the base completed in time just overshadowed like the categories for me. Like I think I was really focused on like tactical functional because I was thinking like shield generator and all the turrets and all this kind of stuff. And so I got kind of swept away in all of that and forgot. I was like, I'll leave humor till when I get to figure placement because I feel like that's when you can start to introduce some funny stuff. And then it ended up just getting too close to the deadline and I just completely forgot about it. So yeah.
I really, really wanted to add I have like a Jar Jar janitor figure from like the Bombad
yeah.
Oh
Bounty.
yeah.
But I just like I have no idea where it is. Like so many parts of Star Killer in so many different places at this point. I was like, I can't risk expending the time resource to go look for it and like potentially not being able to find it. Like that's how pressed I was.
Yes, that's fair. Yeah, so I think we should talk some too. I think it'd be fun to explore a little bit, maybe after the final reveal, or should we build some suspense here? We could talk about the process of like building the bases because like we all had 30 days, but I think all of us ended up not taking 30 days to do our base for various reasons. And so I don't know if we want to dive into that a little bit because that was like that. I feel like for all of us to hit this deadline, there was definitely certain levels of stress and other factors and stuff like that. I mean, I think like for myself, obviously, like I got my appendix taken out, so like that cut my time in half from the get go right there. And then trying to get everything done on time, I was like, man, I was stressing for sure. But I think Coconut, you were on it. You had yours ready to go like what, Tuesday or something before we released.
Yeah, it was all done. Yeah, I had because of I'm also working on Makito and some other stuff. I had to be pretty dedicated with like I got to get this started, especially like working on the UTAT as well. So I got it done in little chunks. So I started with the terrain, built that, then took a little break, and then jumped back to the base. The nice thing for me too was I don't know if people saw it, but I did a clone base challenge a couple months ago, and I did a very similar base to what this one looked like. So I kind of had a little bit of a blueprint already. So I decided to expand on that. And so I went the same route as SW, where I just, because it was so big and so open, it didn't take a ton of time. And so that was kind of nice. What helped me as well, I could kind of just slap each of those rooms together pretty quickly. And then, I was able to get it finished the week before, which was really nice. But I think for me, the biggest thing I was stressed about was like the editing, because you can build a good video, but it's like the way the audience and you guys see it is going to perceive how you vote, right? Like if I build this awesome base, but then don't take that time to put the work into the editing, I was worried that, I wouldn't be able to showcase my base properly, especially with like the lighting. I didn't want that to come off lackluster or anything. So I think that was one of my bigger stresses, was like kind of like the editing side.
How was the process for you, SW?
Yeah, I had other projects I was working on, and it was just a busy month, and it sort of crept up on me, and suddenly I had less than a week to build and edit. So I gave myself 4 days because it sort of just fit the 100 hours. Sort of sounds good. I mean, it's just shy of 100 hours, but obviously not fully build time. But yeah, I thought that would be a good way to package the video, and then obviously wouldn't just be posting the same title and thumbnail for all of our different videos. So it kind of worked out in the end, but I ended up just having the sort of 4 days to build, and yeah, they were pretty long days of building. But then then the editing came through, and I had a few very long days of editing, but it was worth it, and it was good to see how quickly I can crank out a video, which is good to see. But
you had that fast.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, it was good fun.
All right, Jay, what about you?
Bro, I think like just coming up with a design is what took me the longest. Like I spent so much time just going back and forth on like, how do I want to design this? Because like one thing I really wanted to incorporate was a gunship, and I kept coming back to like it's just too big for the footprint we have. Like especially like like you could build a decent sized base with the footprint we have, but adding like a scale gunship to it would just shrink the base so much because of the wingspan. So like once I kind of accepted defeat on that, I was like, okay, like, well, what else can I do? So one thing I actually did was I looked up like concept art for like citadels on Scarif, like in the making of Rogue One, and I got a few like conceptual ideas from that, and then I was kind of like, okay, like this is more or less the direction I want to go. So then after that, it was just trying to put pieces together, and I would say I left myself a decent amount of time. I probably like really started adding pieces to base plate like at the 2-week mark. And then I just realized with the type of design I was going for, it was going to take so much longer than I thought. Like figuring out all the shapes, all the angles, like hiding all the gaps. Like it just like, the time that I thought was going to take for this ended up like the actual time it took blew that out of the water.
Yeah.
So I was very happy to get something that like looked, at least from the outside, like a functional base together, because it was pretty hectic. And also I think like building late into the night, like there are certain pieces I assumed I had that I realized pretty late that I just did not have.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh God, like what am I going to do? So I had to like snatch some stuff from Camino, unfortunately. But it was for the greater cause.
Awesome. Well, guys, I think everybody put some fantastic effort into this, and I think we all came out with something that was unique and different, which I think is exciting for each of us. I really enjoyed, going back and forth throughout the process and kind of seeing little updates here and there from everybody as people were putting things together, and we were all getting hyped too in our Discord chat with each other, seeing what people were doing. We're like, oh man, that's sick. What, like, people are taking different directions with stuff, and so. Yeah, I think it turned out really well, and I'm just glad we were all able to put this collaboration together and get something out for everybody.
Yeah.
But yes, let's go to the final category here, which is fan choice for best build. So before I announce the winner, this category, this was a tough one because like it's pretty close, to be honest, guys. Like
That's
it
cool.
is. We're talking, especially within like. Within all the positions, there's not really a greater difference here than a few percent. And
Wow.
so everybody's pretty tight. I don't know if we want to go, let's see. I think we can go first and second place because it is.
I guess we should also announce there are no trophies for this.
No trophies for this.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
This is just everybody's vote for overall best base. And so we have second place is Jay. Congratulations, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
First
Thank you
place.
for your vote.
Oh wait, are you going to give an acceptance speech for second place?
No, just thank you for your vote. That's it.
Okay. All right. First place. This feels weird announcing myself, but that I won first place. So thank you.
Nice job, Firebird.
Hey, count those. Recount.
Yeah, wait a second. He said it was close.
It is close.
Does
Does
anybody else know the numbers?
I'll send the numbers in the private chat. For you guys,
Bro, how many alt accounts you got, bro?
Yeah.
I did
That's why
make
he was
it.
so tired.
So when I was putting the form together, I did make it so that only one vote per Google account, which I didn't realize that was going to be a thing. So we probably would have gotten more votes if we didn't put that stipulation on there. But you had to be logged into your Google account to submit your vote. And so I feel like the fact that we got 1,100 something votes is pretty exciting. So thank you everybody for voting.
That's awesome.
That made all of this worth it. Like having the engagement with all of you guys. Like I know, like it's super easy to watch a video for a few seconds. You see the base, that's all you get from it. So those of you who actually took the effort and voted, we really, really appreciate that. Like
Absolutely.
None of this would be nearly as interesting if we didn't get that feedback from you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've had the most fun on this stream. I was like hanging out and like doing the whole results and talking, like seeing you guys.
Absolutely. And you don't have to build anything.
Yeah, for real. That's the real. Yeah, for real. So, thank you guys all for watching. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, I was going to say, do you want to open up the Q&A or you think we, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do. So, that's it for the categories. We're gonna just kind of cool down the stream, wrap up here with just some questions for you guys. Q&A. You can ask us about the base. You can ask us, I don't know, pretty much. I mean, whatever questions you have about our process or Easter eggs, things we wish we had included, things that we did include that just didn't turn out as good as we had hoped. Yeah, just let us know what you guys want to hear. Someone said, I'm surprised that Coconut didn't use the opportunity of this challenge to make an underwater clone base in the Gungan city on Naboo.
That could have been
Dang it.
interesting.
I could have been sick, yeah.
If only I had known. If only I'd thought of it.
Should have picked the Gungan Clone Legion.
The Gungan Legion. Awesome.
All right, Doc Ostiff has a good question. He says, what part of the build category was most difficult for each of you? Maybe just go one by one and say it. So I guess I should go.
Yeah,
you should go. You go first.
I'd say that the tactical part, like the functionality part, because like I don't come from a clone based background per se. Like that was I think I was like I wasn't super into Lego Star Wars whenever that was a huge thing. So I don't have a lot of experience like looking, analyzing, and I'm not like I love Star Wars, but like in terms of like real world like combat and like military bases, like that is very beyond me. So this was like just making sure I had things that would be necessary for like a base was kind of a process for me to make sure I wasn't forgetting something obvious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd probably say the same thing for me. Like designing turrets and stuff it's like they can be quite hard because I feel like they've got to be a certain level of I don't know. There's something about turrets and stuff that you've got to put an extra bit of detail into them to make them look not necessarily. They don't have to be a copy and paste from in universe and stuff, but it's quite fun to work on them. But it can be quite hard. So I definitely would say that was probably one of my hardest bits, apart from the humor because I completely forgot about that bit. But yeah.
Follow up for that one, SW Kai Pi, or however you say that, Kai P. He said, "What would you have done for humor, anyways? Like if you had."
That's a good one. I may have, if I'd been thinking about humor, I probably would have added a barracks downstairs and then maybe done some sort of chilled area for the clones to hang out in, maybe in that downstairs section, and then maybe done some sort of humor scene there. But you put me on the spot here. I can't.
Yeah, makes sense.
Can't think of anything in particular I would have done, but yeah, something like that probably would have been the way I'd gone.
What about you?
I think honestly, I mean, it wasn't necessarily humor, but I'd say the like transparent Cody you had was super clever. When I saw that, I was like, oh, like I love that. Like that was really nice.
We got
Firebird. Which one do you think was the hardest for you?
Sorry, I'm reading comments here. What was the question?
The question was, what category was the hardest?
I think honestly aesthetic was probably the hardest for me because I'm still like I've been mock building for a little bit now, but I'm in the grand scheme of things, I'm still newer to mock building and still learning different techniques and ways to get interesting shapes out of buildings and stuff. And so I really didn't want like just square buildings for this one because the last clone base I did was like that classic style. And so I wanted to try something different. So trying to find ways to make buildings that are in interesting shapes is still something that I find difficult and I want to get better at. And, I talked with Jay some about his ridiculous panel techniques and gap covering and all the stuff that he does. So I ended up ordering panel pieces recently because I want to start trying some of that technique out to get some interesting shapes and everything. But yeah, so I would say that the aesthetic part was probably the most difficult. And I would have liked to have spent more time on terrain, honestly. It would have been super fun to get just some giant trees up underneath the base. I think that would have added to the scale of things, at least for my build.
I understand why we had a footprint requirement, but I almost want to say like maybe moving forward, if we have we can have like a separate base and terrain footprint requirement. Yeah. Because Coconut I think was very much pushed into, because I think having terrain like Mustafar, like it looks a very particular way. So I feel is maybe more pressure to add a certain amount of terrain versus 100%. Like me, I just kind of, I can add some sand around the corners and, it can more or less look like Scarif. Yeah. So I think I was like, when I finished mine, I was like, I love this, but I almost wish I had more space for terrain. Sure. I don't want to take away from the base. So that was one of my big takeaways.
No, speaking of the footprint and stuff, there was actually someone who went outside of the footprint and they're gonna
maybe we have to deduct some points here.
Oh man.
We did talk about this. It was funny too, because as we were sending progress photos and Caleb sends this like his base, and like there's these giant towers
It's just
stretching
hanging over
over
the
the footprint, and I'm just like, is that within the rule? Is this legal? And then he was basically just like, well, I'll make it legal. And then we're like,
His
okay.
competition, he's in control.
Yeah, because we did say 64 by 64 studs was like the bounds.
Yeah.
And so then I took that and I was like, all right, that like the bottom of the base is 64 by 64, but my landing platform extends over the edge. My tower extends over the edge above. It's not touching the ground. I mean,
We were making jokes about it. We were like, yo, I'm gonna take Camino and just like put all
Yeah,
this stuff
for
in
real.
the middle
Yeah.
of the base and all
just
that
stick it
within
on
the
a
bounds.
64 by 64. It's fine. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Yeah, I definitely pushed that a little bit. I was trying to get a little too clever there, I think.
I think for me, I mean, I feel kind of weird saying it because it's one of the categories that I won, but like the humor for me was just because I just don't like, I can put humor into a video, but like putting humor into a build is harder for me because I don't know. That's not what I'm interested in at all remotely. Like, I don't know. Like, humor in builds is cool, but like when I look at someone's mock, the Easter eggs are fun, but like I'm more there for the building techniques. I'm more there for how it looks, for like the scene that it's depicting, especially like the battles. And so that was one. I think that was why I had as much humor as I did, is because I knew that was going to be a weakness of mine. So I really keyed in on that and was like, okay, I gotta go harder than I normally do. I got to put more effort than I normally do, because this is something that I could, kind of phone in. And then another one for me was kind of similar to Firebird, was this aesthetic. Like I don't know, that one's a hard one for me just in general, is aesthetic. And that's something I've been trying to improve on, because my build was very blocky and very rectangular. And I tried to like angle the walls a little bit, but it still definitely was tough to hit the aesthetic.
Yeah, on that note, I feel like people don't realize how hard Jay's like circles and triangles. Like, I can't get my head around it. So people need to, if you haven't built that sort of thing, you don't understand how wild that is.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty crazy. No,
Yeah,
I will say
a lot of time just not really doing math, but kind of doing Lego math. Like, all right, how will these things fit together?
I don't know how you have the patience for that.
I want to touch on Coconut's humor thing there for a second. I said that category was a blowout. Coconut, you just whooped all of us in that category.
Yeah,
I think. Let me look here. It's a 75% win to you on the humor.
That's so ironic.
Yeah, anyone who remembered that,
which is really funny, because I feel like I definitely, like, I would say like this would have, if I had the time, this would have been a part of my build. And sometimes like for me, like humor is something I think very like I always look for the humor in my builds, almost to the expense of like the actual like storytelling in the build. But for me, I guess I just kind of assumed like, I'll figure that out later. I guess I was so that's really like confident in it, but I was like, oh, like I'll figure that out. And then when it got to the end, I was like, there is just no time. Like, so I definitely sacrificed it. But to say that, I think it's cool that like you kind of got pushed outside your comfort zone a little bit because of that category, and you maybe like embrace something you don't typically do, and clearly it paid off. So I like that this contest, I think in a lot of ways pushed all of us maybe to places we don't usually go, especially for me, like building a clone base. Like that was a very foreign concept to me. So I appreciate that, Caleb. This is a really cool learning experience.
Yeah, I saw someone say annual clone base face off.
That could be
I'd love to know. I mean, clone base would be cool, but I mean, I was gonna say in the chat, if you guys want to like, if you have any suggestions for types of builds, maybe not clone bases, but like things that we could do another competition for, like I'd love to hear what you guys would like to see. If it's another clone base, cool. If it's something else, I'd love to hear what you guys have in mind.
Let's do it.
Yeah, speaking of that, Bobo Bricks, his question is, after this success, will we be seeing more collabs in the future, both between you four, but also with other YouTubers from the community? Great builds, everybody.
Yeah, hopefully.
Why not?
Yeah. I think it only takes one, right? People see how this goes and just like, yeah, I see this, or I want to try this. So I hope we see more, because from just the four of us, it was fun. From all of you guys, it was fun. Like, it was a lot of fun. Like, it was definitely a challenge, but I stepped away from this as it's a clear win, right? It's like, it was fun. And I think people are going to see that and just see the excitement that it built. And just, that's something that I hope to see more in the Lego Star Wars community, is a lot more collaboration, not just at the conventions, because myself, I don't ever go to the conventions,
Sure.
but it still gave me an opportunity to collab with people like you, especially like SW's in England. Like
exactly.
he's so far away, but here we all are taking part together and doing something fun, which I enjoyed because I don't typically get this kind of experience in the Lego community.
Yeah. No, it's fun for all of us to get to know each other better too, and just have that time, over the course of the competition, being able to chat and stuff like that. I do see David is in the chat here saying he's got an idea. ...
Hey, yo.
We'll have to see what that is, but
It'll be fun to do one for
I have a few ideas as well, things that don't necessarily have to be like us pulling the same thing, but I think there's opportunities for us to maybe tell a story in this regard, like have it start with one person in one place and progress through others. Like there's a lot of like precedent for things like this that could really, be fun for everybody.
And the cool thing about collabs is, especially in the Lego community, it's not like, if you go into like the car world, the collabs are people with cool cars get together and show their cars or go take pictures of cars. We all have the ability to build kind of whatever we want. So like, we don't have the same limitations that certain communities do. We can, really do whatever it is that we can come up with.
Definitely.
I'm so hyped.
I see people asking like who won and stuff like that in the comments. I think Scott and Jay have also both posted the list.
Let me pin. I'll pin that instead
of
the links, because it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, the link is we done voting.
So anybody, Scott Davis, I just pinned his comment. He announced the winners in the different categories.
Thank you, Scott, for putting that in there.
I do have a quick question for Caleb before we sign out here. So obviously this was kind of your brainchild along with SW. Now seeing the end now, what's your impression? Is this, like what you expected? Did it blow you away? Like kind of how do you feel about the way all this played out?
I mean, I feel great about it. I think it was a lot of fun to be able to work together with everybody. And I think also the fact that we all were working on something behind the scenes before kind of pushing it out for the drop and everything last weekend. I think like it was something exciting for people to see. I know that there are people that watch like all of our channels, and I think a lot of people don't know that a lot of us do chat behind the scenes and we're friends with each other, and we like to do stuff like this when the opportunity arises. And so I think it went great. I had a blast working on this project. I think it's fun to have some stakes to something like this because competing against you guys are all very talented builders, and so it pushed me to like try hard and really try to go for something different. And so I think it helps us all get better. It helps push us outside of our comfort zones. Jay, I didn't know that you've never built anything based off of a non-canonical something before. So I think like seeing you try something that's outside of your regular standard for building was really cool. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think it just opens up different opportunities for everybody, and hopefully opens the doors for, all of us to collaborate with more people within the space too. And so, yeah. And also I would say that like I noticed people, commenting, interacting across the videos and everything. I think I've mentioned this already, but just seeing like people say, oh, I found you from Jay, I found you from SW or Coconut or Firebird. It's cool because I think there are people who watch each of our stuff, but they might not know about the existence of other people's content. So it's a good way to kind of share audience with each other. And I will say that like, as far as metrics and everything go and engagement, this is like for myself, probably one of my most successful videos for the satisfaction factor, I would say, for people who got to watch it. And I think I've heard a similar thing from you guys as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, I've kept an eye on the numbers for my video, and like it's doing all right, but like it was just fun. Like it was a lot of fun, and like you said, I think the satisfaction of it too is like it was just a real fun, satisfying thing. And I hope what it opens up is more like fan collaborations. Like I think because the fans voting wasn't a part of the initial idea. Because that's kind of how your typical collab is you all get together and people enjoy it, but to be able to bring people in as well I hope is something that we see more, because I would like to be a part of it from just a fan and be able to like vote and like look at other people's builds and stuff like that without the pressure of trying to like build. Because I'm not gonna lie, like you said, it was very like stressful of like these are I have to put my best. Like this was not a video I could just phone in. Like I had to really like push myself because each one of you guys is a really good builder, and so it definitely made me put a lot of effort into this.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, anybody else? Any last thoughts or conclusions, epiphanies?
No, just thanks for working with us, guys. You three and all the fans. It was great fun.
Yeah. Make sure if you're not SW Bricks, Firebird Bricks, Rich Boy J, each of them has YouTube channels of their own. They put out content of their own. If you haven't already, make sure you go subscribe. Make sure, show them all the support. I mean, they've all got awesome stuff as well. You guys don't stream. I mean, yeah, Jay does his building streams, SW streams. I think Firebird said you're going to start streams. So they do streams over there as well. So make sure you're subscribed so you can tune into their future content. But we just want to thank you guys once again. So much fun. Like, this was awesome. And hopefully, we'll get to see something like this come up in the future. Who knows? But that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Subscribe to everyone.
Yes.
Go subscribe.
Yep. We'll catch you
and
guys.
apparently SW just hit 100K.
Oh, let's go.
Yo, shout out to SW Bricks.
Over the edge.
Wow.
Dude, he took the real victory today.
Yeah, those last few
100,000
subscribers. Shout out if you came over from these guys. Yeah.
That plaque is on the way, bro.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
huge
awesome.
Congratulations. That's a big deal. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a long time goal, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right.
Hitting
Well,
it before the end of the year. Congrats.
Yeah, that was the main thing. And he just got it fine.
we'll catch you guys all later. But until next time, happy building.